Hello and welcome again to the Mack Brown Show. You know it's 2020, so Coach and I are separated here across campus. Coaches over in the Keenan Football Center, and I am here in our Media and Communications Center in Chapel Hill. My name's Jones Angel. He, of course, is the Hall of Fame head coach of the Tar Heels, Mack Brown, and we have a lot of good stuff to talk about over the next hour. We will look back to the big victory over Syracuse, 31-6 on Saturday afternoon in Keenan Stadium. Get Coach's opinion on everything that happened on the field and the situation off the field. Of course, so unique with no fans in the stands on Saturday. We've got a bunch of questions from you that we will try to get to as well for Coach to answer. And a little bit later, if you're listening to the show and compared to watching us today, then you're going to hear part of an interview with Harris Barton, fantastic offensive lineman, of course, at Carolina in the 1980s, and he is up for a college football Hall of Fame nomination. We'll talk to Coach about that coming up in a little bit. But Coach, probably a slower start, I'm guessing, than you wanted, but everything turned out just fine. Carolina used a strong second half, pulled away from Syracuse 31-6 in the opener, and always great to get things started with a win.
Yeah, Jones, I was really emotional when I got off the bus that we were even playing.
Yeah.
And I asked the players, when did you think you were going to play? And they said, a week ago, 10 days ago, we finally realized that we might get to play. So the fact that we did get to play again, the credit goes back to John Swofford and the presidents, chancellors, and athletics directors in this conference. But the guys wanted to play, and they enjoyed playing. It was so different that we didn't have the bell tower walk. We walk into the stadium, there's no fans, there's no history, there's no tradition and pageantry there. You don't have cheerleaders, you don't have bands, you don't have our fans, you don't have our students. We missed all of that, but when you kick it off, it's still football. And you can tell that, I remember when I was here before and we got really good, people would gripe about slow starts, so they'd gripe about slow quarters. I'm so proud that it was the perfect opener. We won the game, so we're 1-0, which was the objective. We did a lot of great things, but we have some things we've got to fix, and you can coach them harder after a win, so it can't be any better than that. So from 2 wins 2 years ago to 7 last year to playing a conference team who had beaten us the last 2 times, we're talking about slow starts. Expectations are here. So I'm glad that our guys stepped it up, and I've told them playing with expectations is much different. We just moved into the 11th spot and the 12th spot in the rankings. So expectations will be higher for Charlotte. So that's the way you want it to be. And that's the way it was. It was funny, all the text I was getting after the game. You didn't show up till halftime, but it was a good second half. And, well, you at least played a good fourth quarter. When you score 31 points and they don't score a touchdown and you pull your first team out with 8 minutes left to go in the game, I'm pretty proud.
Coach, it seems appropriate to start with your defense. Just 202 yards allowed in the game, just 68 on the ground. Syracuse just 4 of 19 on third down. Of course, no touchdowns allowed. What an impressive start to the season on that side of the ball.
Yes, Jones, I thought the defense played great. There's 7 sacks, 11 tackles for loss, a lot of penetration. We didn't give up very many big plays at all, and Syracuse has some outstanding receivers and a great quarterback. He just didn't have a chance to throw it. First time that we've shut out or kept an ACC opponent from scoring a touchdown since 2009 against Duke. So it's been a long time, and really, really proud of the way those guys played. We played 26 guys, so we held to our word that we were going to try to play at least 2 deep of players. We played a little bit more than that even. So proud of the guys, and proud that when the second team went in and played most of the fourth quarter, they still kept them out of the end zone, which is a very difficult thing to do. We couldn't have done any of that last year. So when you look at it over the last 4 games, Jones, our defense has held people to 9 points and 257 yards or 247 yards total offense. So It's been 4 really impressive games.
Coach, I was going to ask you about the amount of guys that you did play, because a large majority of that number was before the game was super one-sided there at the end. So you really were rotating in a lot of different players, even when that game was close through the first couple of quarters.
Yes, we wanted to stay fresh. We only had one player cramp up in the game, which is really impressive with the inconsistent workouts that we had since spring, with them not being, our players not being around our trainer and our nutritionist and Coach Hess. So I was really, really impressed that the guys were in good shape. They played really hard. And we told them, if you get tired and you can't give us 100%, tap out, hit your helmet and come onto the boundary and let's get somebody else in there. And they did a great job of making sure that we kept fresh people on the field.
Coach mentioned some of these numbers a moment ago, but I'll echo them just one more time. 11 tackles for loss, 7 sacks, 9 more quarterback hurries, 5 passes broken up, and an interception as well. So very aggressive defense that shows up in those numbers for sure. Coach, offensively, a little sluggish at times, but boy, came to life in the second half, especially those 4 straight scoring drives, field goal, 3 consecutive touchdowns. And you had said last week, it might take a little bit of time in this game for the offense to get going just because you weren't quite sure what you were going to see from a new coordinator in Syracuse.
Yeah, the game really was a lot like the NC State game and the Temple game.
Yeah.
That we struggled some in the second quarter, and I'm not sure why we're doing that offensively, but when you look at this game, we fumble a punt. Daz fumbles a punt. That takes away one of our possessions, and then Sam threw an interception off a tip ball. So we didn't have the ball much the second quarter. And we were playing a new defense, the new defensive coordinator. We had to adjust to some things there. This secondary is about as good as we'll play. They're very talented.
Yep.
Cisco being a guy that leads the country in interceptions. And the front 3 are really good. They're talented guys. We got them worn out some because they don't have a lot of depth. But Syracuse defense has got some good players, and they played well, and you got to give them credit. When we came back out the second half, we settled down. Our backs made some key plays. Our receivers made key plays, and we took the game over really in the third quarter, and then it led to points in the fourth quarter. The other thing you have to look at offensively, we didn't have many short fields. We didn't strip the ball. We didn't force turnovers very much on defense, which is the only concern we had. So most of the drives, their punter was great, and until Daz started getting his punt returns that were so dynamic, we had long fields, so the offense had to go a long way. Didn't fumble the ball, which is really key in an opening ball game, especially with no spring practice and again, a lot of different things happening in practice in this preseason coming into the game. So very proud of our guys that they took care of the ball as well. But the expectation for the offense was probably over the top. It was good for them they got a little frustrated in the second quarter, struggled a little bit. It's good for them because they still score 31 points. And with 8 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter, when we took them out last year, they averaged 33. So we've got to make sure that we keep our expectations realistic offensively. And Syracuse was going to stay back and make us earn it, and we're not a very patient offense, so that's something that we can improve on.
Coach, I thought it was interesting when you spoke with us on the post-game show after the game. You said in the locker room at halftime, you kind of said, and I may not get this exactly right, but kind of said, hey, guys, just relax. We're leading this game 7-3. It's okay. Any win is a good win. Could you just take us through kind of what your message was to the team there at the half?
Well, that's exactly what I said, Jones. We're on the sideline. You have no home field advantage anymore because we have a great play and there's no crowd noise.
Yeah.
There's no nothing. It's really strange. So just the whole situation was unique. And then you start watching what happened in the first half. We had our opportunities, but we didn't finish them, and the turnovers made a difference. And our guys were thinking, they've been reading, hey, we're one of the best teams in the country, man. We're going to move the ball. Syracuse isn't very good, and Syracuse has lost this, and these guys opted out. And that's all very dangerous because you got to play. And all these teams have scholarships, and all these teams have very good players. And Syracuse had read how great we were going to be. So at halftime, I said, there's one objective to this game, and that's win. And we're ahead. So let's make sure that we go back out and win the second half. I don't care if we win the game 7-6. It does not matter to me. We'd like to play to a standard. We'd like to get better. Opening games for sure. Figure out a way to win it. And I'm glad the guys did that the second half. But I also wanted them to have more fun. They weren't having much fun, and we're all adjusting to the new normal, and we're all adjusting to no fans. I think it'll be healthy for our players to see the NFL playing without fans.
Yep.
But they see other teams playing with some fans, and that's frustrating for them too.
It certainly was a lot more fun in the second half, though, as Coach mentioned, as Carolina really put on a performance. We'll talk a little bit about that offensive explosion, some special teams, and a little bit more about just the atmosphere in Kenan Stadium and how that may have affected the operation on the sideline and how Coach and his staff worked through that. All of that, much more still to come as we move through the next hour here on the Mack Brown Show from Learfield, IMG College. Back with you on the Mack Brown Show. He's the Hall of Fame head coach of the Tar Heels. My name is Jones Angel. Thanks so much for being with us today, however you are listening or watching today. And let's take a quick look at the Champion Watch, brought to you by UNC Health. The team at UNC Health is dedicated to caring for champions of all kinds. That includes you and your family. You can see their lineup at unchealthcare.org/sports. A couple of the statistical champions for the Tar Heels this past week. Michael Carter, 178 all-purpose yards. Javonte Williams, 3 rushing touchdowns. Second time in his Carolina career that he has done that. The other was back in 2018 against Western Carolina. Plus Chaz Surratt, Tamari Fox, each with 2 sacks in the game, making up 4 of those 7 total sacks for the Tar Heel defense. Coach mentioned this a little bit earlier as well. New polls out yesterday. Carolina checks in at number 12 in the AP poll. It is the highest Carolina has been ranked in the AP poll since December of 2015. Tar Heels are number 11 in the coaches poll as well. Other ACC teams ranked: Clemson number 1, Notre Dame at 7, Miami 17, Louisville 18, Virginia Tech 20, and Pitt at number 25. So that's 7 total ACC teams ranked this week.
And Jones, let me say that just based on what you just said, our 2 offensive players of the week were the 2 running backs.
Yep.
For obvious reasons. Chaz Surratt could be the defensive player of the week every week, but the defensive coaches gave it to Tamari Fox this week. And for obvious reasons, Daz Newsome and his dynamic punt returns was the special teams player of the week.
Coach, I saw that video on social media of your sound effects of Daz's punt return. That was pretty good.
Man can scoot. He can get from here to there very quickly.
Very much so, and a nice bounce back from Daz. Had the early muff, but then after that, boy, he was special back there. Averaged 15.5 yards per return. That's number 5 in the nation through 2 weeks. Yeah,
it's an area we think we can really improve and get better. Michael Carter had an outstanding kickoff return. Daz, they couldn't tackle. We had the 1 punt return for a touchdown call back because of the block in the back, which was a close one with the rookie. But Daz can win some ball games now in special teams. And even before we get to special teams, we thought that the mistakes that we made were obvious. But our punter punted it well. Our kicker kicked it well. Jonathan Kim kicking it out of the end zone on every kickoff. Our returns were good. Got to get rid of the penalties, got to get rid of the turnover. But we have a chance to be as improved on special teams as we thought we could be.
Coach, I know a big area of emphasis from last year to this was scoring more touchdowns in the red zone. You guys went into the red zone 5 times in this game, scored on all 5, and 4 of those were touchdowns. I would assume you'd be very happy with that number.
Very much so. It's something that we emphasized. It was going to be a key factor in spring practice. We didn't get to have spring, so we've worked on situations the entire preseason. We were only 5 of 13 on third down, so that's still got to improve. The one time we didn't score when we got down there and had to kick the field goal, we threw a fade that was over the head and out of bounds, and then we get a pressure on Sam. He has to scramble out on second down. Then on third down, we have a sack. So all the 4 other opportunities, we were physical, we ran the ball, and got the ball in the end zone. So that's something we need to continue to work on.
Coach, you had gone through some scrimmages, but this was the first time going through a game with the new COVID protocols in place, the mask, the social distancing, the lack of fans. How did things go from that perspective as far as the operation of what you were trying to do on the sideline?
The young people were locked in and incredible. We did not have one substitution fault. They did a great job. And That's with your mask on. You can't hear. Here I am with headsets on and a mask. I can't hear anybody. Nobody can hear me. We're scattered all over the sideline. They were just incredible. So I'm so proud of the guys and really bragged on them, especially on special teams. And as many players as we played, it's hard to manage that many people. It's like managing the military and get everybody on the field at the right time. So give credit to the coaches, but the real credit goes to the players because they managed a lot of that by themselves.
Coach, there was, not involving Carolina, but there was some movement schedule-wise in the ACC this weekend. Virginia Tech being postponed. Duke, Virginia, that game was originally scheduled for November, now moved to September 26th. Just seemed like a sign of the flexibility that is going to be needed this year for every team in the league.
Yeah, Jones, we've told our players and our coaches the only thing certain about 2020 is uncertainty.
That's right.
And it's called sudden change. We had some sudden change during the ball game Saturday. We're going to have a lot of sudden change during this season. So we just have to get ready. If they call us on Sunday and say you're playing somebody else this next Saturday, can't gripe about it being a short week. We got to get it ready to go and go play.
Coach, you're never going to have a completely clean game, particularly in the first game. How beneficial is it to get a win, a convincing win over an ACC opponent, but still have plenty of things that you can show to your guys and say, look, here's some things that we need to improve on?
Yeah, as I said at the opening of the show, it's the perfect opener for us. We won convincingly against a team that's beaten us the last 2 times in overtime. We won at home with all the unusual things that are going on around us with COVID. We didn't think we were going to get to play, but not only did we get to play, we played well. But we've got a lot of things we can fix. The kicking game mistakes were huge. We had too many penalties. We had 9 penalties, and that's entirely too many across the board. More of those in special teams than we would want. The defense may not be as good as they looked because the offensive line was depleted in some ways at Syracuse. So they'll have to continue to play better. The offense can play better in the second quarter. So and we can improve our special teams, and it was much better than last year anyway. So I don't think it could be any better, Jones. We've got the players' attention, the coaches' attention. We're going to coach them really, really hard this week. If you lose an opening ball game, it's much harder to coach them tough the second week because they've lost some confidence. Ours were disappointed in the game, like some of our fans, and I don't want them to be disappointed. I want them to be confident. I want them to know that we can do better. I want them to work to achieve more, but I never want them to be disappointed in the way they play, as long as they play as hard as they can, and I thought they did that on Saturday.
Certainly hard to be disappointed with anything that has to do with a 31-6 conference win to start the season here for Carolina. We're going to take a break, come back. We have a lot more to do with Coach Brown. We're going to start getting to your questions for the head coach of the Heels. That's when we return to the Mack Brown Show from Learfield, IMG College. Thanks so much for being with us today, talking to the Hall of Fame head coach of the Tar Heels, Mack Brown. It's his show, the Mack Brown Show. We're here every Monday through the football season. A lot of different ways you can consume the show on the Tar Heels Sports Network at 7 o'clock on Monday night. You can follow the Carolina Insider podcast feed. It will be delivered right to your phone on Tuesday mornings. And maybe you're watching us today on Go Heels or on YouTube. Thanks for joining us that way as well. You can also use the TuneIn app and listen live at 7 o'clock. So lots of different ways. And we want you to be involved in the show. We are recording this year earlier in the day on Monday simply because of the COVID protocols. We can't be with you at Top of the Hill, but that doesn't mean you can't be a part of the show. You can send questions to asktheheels@gmail.com or shoot me a tweet right to my address. It's @JonesAngel. Angel has 2 L's at the end. And, Coach, we do have a bunch of great questions to get to, so let's start there. This one came from Patrick Gordon. Wanted to know how big of an asset it has been for your young receiver, Chaufrey Brown, to have his older brother Diami there to lean on and learn from, and how much progress this year do you think you may see from Chaufrey? Patrick was particularly impressed with what he saw from your young receiver against Syracuse.
Patrick, it's a great question. Chaufrey had a knee operation last year and didn't get to play, and we thought he would play last year. He's got tremendous speed. He's one of the faster people on our team. He's catching the ball much better. I thought he made some great plays on Saturday. He's still got to improve some on his blocking, But Diami is one of the best receivers in the country. He's definitely an NFL guy. And like Tamon, Fox, and Tamari, you love having brothers on the team, and the Fox brothers are outstanding players for us, and so are the Brown brothers. So there's absolutely no doubt that the older guys help the younger ones elevate their game.
Coach, speaking of Tamon Fox, we received several questions about the patch on the uniform that you guys wore this past Saturday that Tamon was the architect of, the designer of. I was wondering if you could expand a little bit on that story, how that came about, and how Tamon helped the team in that way.
Yes, the NCAA allowed each college football team or sports team this year to put a patch on their jerseys, on their uniforms. And I think you could put it on the helmet or the uniform. Our guys decided they wanted to put it on their jersey. We have a black one on the Carolina blue jersey and a white one, a black one on the white jersey and a white one on the Carolina blue jersey. And you can put anything you want on it, but everybody has to put the same thing. So Tamon is an outstanding artist. Tamari is too, the family is. It's just a wonderful talent. So the players went to him with thoughts and ideas, and he designed the patch for them, and it's really cool. And I think we'll probably be the only team in America that has someone on their team design the patch and draw it for them. And then some of the other sports wanted to use that patch, and the guys said, no, this is our patch, but Tamon's actually drawing a patch for the other sports. So it's been really, really cool at a time where we've got so much division in our country with politics and social injustice. It's a time for us to pull together. And this isn't about politics. This isn't about any movements. This is about equality. And that's what the guys are wanting. And our guys have been really special, black or white, Hispanic. It has not mattered on our team. Everybody wants people to be treated fairly, and they're working hard to make sure they send that message in a very professional and very classy manner that represents the university like we all want it to be represented.
If you'd like to learn more about that story, there was a good piece that went out late last week through the Tar Heel Football social media channels, including on Twitter. It's at Tar Heel Football. You can find that and get some comments from Tamon and kind of the background of his thoughts and the team's thoughts on what led to the specific design of that patch. Really good stuff from Tamon Fox and the Tar Heels. Coach, another very popular question this week was much more to do with what happened on the field, and it was the lack of a targeting call on a play in the second half where Sam Howell slid down. There was some head-to-head contact. There was a personal foul called on the play, but no targeting call. Fans were just curious if your thoughts on the lack of a targeting on that play.
I would think that in opening games it's tough for officials too. They've been away for a while. And I can't comment on any specific play, but I can say that if we disagreed with a call, we send it to the conference office. And they do have some calls that they're reviewing right now. They haven't gotten back with us yet. But the calls are for the safety of the game. We had people are talking about the inconsistency of the offense. Brian Anderson had a holding call that brought back a ball from the 1 yard line that was a killer penalty. And I'll just say that's one of the ones we sent in as well.
Coach, one more before we head to break here soon. Joby West sent this one in and wanted to know if anyone performed or graded out better than maybe you expected on Saturday, i.e. any pleasant surprises for you after reviewing the film from this past weekend. I
would think probably our corners. They played so well. Storm Duck and Kyler McMichael were out there by themselves a lot, and they did a great job of guarding two really good receivers at Syracuse. So I was really, really proud of them. Just about everybody played well, but those two guys and then the two interior people, Ray Vahasek and Tamari Fox, did really well on defense as well. Marcus McKeithen, Ed Montelis probably graded out the highest two at the offensive line. and probably as impressed by Garrett Walston as I've ever been with him. He caught the touchdown pass early in the game. We wanted to get him the ball more. He had trouble getting out on another one that we thought might have been a touchdown, but he blocked really well throughout the game. So, and then the other skill guys that were obvious, but those guys were just names that popped up in the staff meeting yesterday.
Garrett Walston had a really impressive block. I believe it was on Carolina's field goal drive in the second half on a big third down where he cleared the way for Javonte Williams on a swing pass to pick up the first down, one of the key plays when Carolina started really humming offensively in that second half. Coach, after this break, the folks that are listening to us tonight or today are going to hear a bit of an interview that we did with Harris Barton, of course, a terrific Tar Heel offensive lineman from the 1980s. And Harris is up for a College Football Hall of Fame nomination. He, along with Julius Peppers, have the potential to go in, and great to see a couple of Tar Heels on that list for potentially entering the College Football Hall of Fame.
Yes, they're both deserving. They'll both get in the Hall of Fame at some point. The sooner the better. I was anxious when I was nominated, so I know it's the greatest honor that you can have, chosen by your peers to represent the best of college football. So thanks to both of those guys for all they did for us here at the university, all they continue to do for us outside as they represent the university, and good luck to both of you guys getting in.
And Coach, I was going to say, you have made such an effort to bring together the Tar Heel football family. Harris Barton didn't play for you at Carolina, but I'm guessing you guys have a strong relationship. That's something that you're trying to build up here in Chapel Hill.
Yes, it's a football family. We shouldn't. In basketball, we've had a lot of continuity with our head coaches. Coach Williams has been here for a long time. Coach Smith was here forever. Everybody knew Coach Guthridge. So when you start looking at basketball, it's been easier. Football, we've been disjointed. Somebody likes this coach, and some players think this coach wants them back, and this coach doesn't want the ex-players back, or I don't want Coach Dooley's back, or they don't want Coach Crumb's back. It's all about the guys that built this place. It's about the Carolina football family. It's not about who the coach is at the present time. And that's something we need to do a better job of moving forward, is making sure everybody that has helped make this place special in football feels welcome to come back and knows that we're thankful.
All right, we're going to take a break. Come back. If you're listening, you'll hear the Harris Barton interview. Then the segment after that, we're back with Coach. If you're watching us today, we'll be right back with Coach. Some more of your questions for the head coach of the Tar Heels, Mack Brown. It's his show, Mack Brown Show, from Learfield, IMG College. A lot of great stuff to talk about today. The Tar Heels 1-0, ranked in the top 15 in the nation. They're up to number 12 in the AP poll, number 11 in the coaches poll. Tar Heels will host Charlotte coming up on Saturday. First ever meeting with the 49ers. Young program. They just started football back in 2013. We'll talk about the visitors coming up in our next segment. But, Coach, a few more questions wanted to get to for you from Tar Heel fans. This one is from Luke. And Luke says when he graduates, he wants to go into broadcasting. Says he knows you, of course, have some background there as well. And from both perspectives, I think you can be somebody who is great to answer this question. Luke wants to know, when talking to a coach, what is the difference between a good question, a great question, or a bad question if Luke is out there talking to a coach in his future?
Luke, number one, broadcasting's really hard. It looks easy because the great ones make it look easy. But your job as a broadcaster is to try to bring something to the fans that they don't know on their own. Go behind the scenes. And I've always thought that in media, don't be sarcastic and get nothing because you hurt your relationship with the coach. Ask him a good question that people want to know the answer to in a positive way. And you don't have to say you stunk on Saturday. That doesn't get you anywhere because the coach is tired and he's thinking about something else anyway. But the most important thing I feel like, Luke, is what can you give the fans that they can't get without you? And that's your worth as an announcer. For me as a head coach, an ex-head coach, as I was at ESPN and ABC, I needed to give them perspectives from the head coach. I needed to tell them things that were going on in the coach's mind during the game. I needed to tell them what was happening at halftime. If there's a rain delay, what do you do? because those are things a lot of fans don't understand, and that was my job. So as you get into this business, and good luck for you going forward, it's a wonderful business, but make sure that you're always respectful of the coach and the team, because these are human beings that make mistakes, but also you're doing the best you can do to give the fans something they can't get without you.
Great stuff, Coach, and great advice for you, Luke. And know Luke is a huge Tar Heel fan, so certainly take that to heart as you move forward. Coach, let's see if we can sneak in one or two more here. This got a very similar question from Justin and also Dr. Akram Alami. They both asked about your fourth quarter success and how your teams have been able to be so good in the fourth quarter here last season and this season. I'll remind you, Coach, that your teams were third in the nation last year, first in the ACC in scoring margin in the fourth quarter at plus 69. And, of course, the Heels had such a big day on Saturday in the fourth quarter as well.
Guys, I think a lot of that credit goes to the players for keeping their confidence and not getting down, even though they got a little frustrated on offense the other day in the second quarter. They came out of it. The other thing really goes to the way we practice and the conditioning that Brian Hess puts them through, that Luke Ross, our trainer, continues to work, and Kelsey, our nutritionist. Brian, Kelsey, and Luke do such a great job of getting them in great shape. And we practice so fast every day that we're usually in better shape, and we're trying to play enough people that we're usually in better shape than the other teams in the fourth quarter. And it's like a heavyweight boxing fight. You beat people down in football. It's hard to do a lot of things in the first quarter against a good team because everybody's excited and ready to play. Football, the team that wins is the one that successfully beats you down over time. And then in the fourth quarter, those 3-yard runs that Michael and Javante have in the first quarter become 12-yard runs in the fourth quarter. And if you just watch that, if you're running the ball really well to start the game, it's probably not going to be a very good game because it's hard to run the ball early. It gets really easier to run the ball late when you've beaten people down.
Tar Heels outscored Syracuse 21-0 on Saturday in the fourth quarter. Coach, let's do one more, and then we'll take our final break here before looking at Charlotte, the upcoming opponent. You mentioned Storm Duck a little earlier in an answer, and we had a question from Dennis who sent this one in, wanting to know what allowed Storm to take such a step forward from year one to year two. Dennis has also heard some of your coaches, Jay Bateman included, really giving Storm some praise leading up to this Syracuse game as well.
If you think Storm was not really highly recruited, Coach Fedora got him committed in the summer at camp, and then he's such a great young person and he's got a tremendous family that he didn't want to visit anywhere else. But then I think maybe Trey Morrison gets knocked out early in the South Carolina game and Storm Duck's out there in our first ball game. It's just maybe third play. And he didn't have a lot of confidence during the season last year. He got much better at the end of the year. That confidence has really grown through the off season, even with all the pandemic stuff. So right now he's playing at a very, very high level of confidence. He's stronger, he's faster. Dre Bly's done an outstanding job with these corners. He is really, I told him he's the most improved, but he had the furthest to come because he'd never coached before. So he said, well, I think that's a compliment, Coach. I'm not sure. But he's really done a good job of helping these young corners get better. But stronger, more confident, great shape, learning how to defend people in a one-on-one situation are all things that are helping Storm do the job that he's doing for us today.
And Syracuse tested him a bunch on Saturday, and he stepped up to every single test that they presented, played a terrific game along with several other Tar Heels in that 31-6 win. All right, we're going to take our last break, come back. We'll talk to Coach about the upcoming matchup with Charlotte. The 49ers coming to Kenan Stadium on Saturday. That's when we return to wrap up the Mack Brown Show from Learfield, IMG College. Wrapping up the second edition of the Mack Brown Show of the season. Quick reminder, Carolina has a bye week scheduled for next weekend, so no show next week. We'll be back in 2 weeks from now with our next edition of the show. But, Coach, before that, a lot to work to do, of course, and that's because Charlotte's coming to town on Saturday at 3:30. First ever meeting between the Heels and the 49ers on the football field. I mentioned this earlier, a young program, just started in 2013, started playing FBS football in 2015, but went to a bowl for the first time last season and coming off a very competitive game against Appalachian State. And you know the 49ers will be excited to come to Kenan Stadium and see the Tar Heels.
Yes, the game Saturday was 21-20 going into the fourth quarter at Boone against Appalachian State. Will Healy is a young superstar as their head coach. He's a dear friend of mine. I watched him at Austin Peay. I watched him last year, and he, as he continues to grow as a coach, he's very innovative. He's got high energy. I love his ideas, and he's just a superstar that's just waiting to happen. And the more people know about Will Healy, the more that they're going to like and enjoy and admire. And his teams play hard. They play with the energy and the passion and the confidence that he does. So we're going to have our hands full on Saturday. I know that. And they will be excited to play, so we better be.
Coach Healy was named the FCS National Coach of the Year at Austin Peay in 2017. He was a good player, too, captain of a national championship winning team at Richmond in his playing days. Coach, before we say goodbye, what's important for you guys this week? What is some of the focus for the Tar Heels as they prepare to see the 49ers?
Well, and Jay Bateman was an assistant on that Richmond team, too, by the way.
Is that right?
That had Will Healy. So he'll have a special moment with him, I'm sure, before the game. The most important thing for us is we've got to play to a standard every week. The great teams we've had in our past didn't care who we were playing. It didn't matter at all. So you've got to have the same practice every Tuesday, every Wednesday, every Thursday, a focused walkthrough every Friday, and you've got to play your best on Saturday. There may be some quarters like last week that are up and down a little bit, but you better bring it, you better have an edge, you better be ready to play, and you've got to play 100% the whole game. And that doesn't change if you're going to be really good. And we said our expectations are different. Our fans' expectations are different. The college football community across this country is looking at us differently than they did last year. All that's good, but it's hard to stay there. So we want to go up instead of staying where we are or going down. To do that, practice well and play to a standard. And that's what we've got to do this week.
Carolina and Charlotte coming up at 3:30 in Kenan Stadium. We'll be on the air radio-wise for that one at 2:30. Coach, as always, thank you. I know a unique setup again, but great to be with you. Thank you for your time, and look forward to talking with you some more this week.
Thanks, Jones. And we do miss our passionate fans down at the top of the hill. There's none better than you folks that come every Monday night. So thank you and appreciate you.
Thanks so much for joining us on another edition of the Mack Brown Show.